I'm going to do an insight video today, and I think it's looking at spirit and looking at sort of like ascended masters and looking at angels and guides and how they communicate with us and how we receive messages. Like yesterday, I had a message, and it was all around faith, and sort of like I had something come through yesterday. It was talking about like doubting Thomas. So what spirit usually do with me, or guides work when they work with me, they sort of like give me a word, or they give me something, because they know what I'm like by my nature is I'm quite inquisitive. So if they give me something, I'll sort of like I'll look into it, and then I'll try and, like I said yesterday, look at the deeper meaning, because like everything I was talking about yesterday was about surface, and a lot of the stuff that we're going through is around sort of going beyond the surface things. And this is what I feel the masters and the guides and the angels are trying to tell us at the moment, as we start to move through this different shift within reality and within what's going on with us at the moment. Is we need to look beyond the surface things. So like there's deeper messages, and there's deeper meaning in everything when we start to look, when we start to get on that conscious level, when we start to connect with source light and creation on a deeper level, then we start to see the meaning and the wisdom beyond what's on the surface. And that also shifts and changes us into a different state of consciousness, a different state of being, where what I've been talking about the last couple of days, about this oneness. It's about seeing beyond, and it's getting into a conscious state where we start to see the universe and the divine intelligence and the divine sort of flow and messages that are at play within our lives. And at play is a really good word, because that's what I feel like spirit want to say. Because in that sense, that at play is it's as we start to go through ascension and we start to become more aware, and we start to become more sort of aligned and integrated, we start to see that nothing, a lot of the things that happen, happen for a reason, and they're coming in to give us the opportunity to shift and change things. Again, this connects to like Saint Germain with the transformation and transformation. It connects to Al Moya with the divine will and the divine intelligence. We start to see, like I was talking about yesterday about mantras and the I am presence, and I was talking about the Master Jesus, and I am the light, I am the way, I am the truth, I'm the light, I am the way. Those three sort of like statements. Again, there's deeper meaning behind that, and I feel this is how spirit are working. And yesterday was sort of like it was looking at the doubting Thomas, and it's what it really means is just like about faith, having faith in the process, and having faith in and what is actually starting to manifest and create, but also what's starting to sort of like what's happening, what's evolving within this spiritual time, in this spiritual age. And this is very much what the masters and the guides I feel are very, very much sort of like telling us. Is the doubting Thomas is like doubting Thomas is the story of an apostle that doubted like the resurrection of Jesus, but it's more about having faith, and it's about sort of being able to sort of in this time sort of realize and start to sort of become aware that that there's this light, this energy that all of us are sort of connected to, and we're starting to really sort of open up to it, and we're all these energy channels. And it's about seeing beyond that, seeing about, so the instant message, it makes you think like doubting Thomas, but then when you go deeper, it's about faith. It's about having faith in the process, having faith in what's being created, what's being manifested, and what's being harmonized on the planet at the moment. And this time's very much around that, and this is going to be a time like this over the next, I feel like over the next like year or so, a couple of years, it's going to be that things are going to shift and change, and we're going to start to see reality in a whole new level. And this is what this time's about, and this is what I feel the masters and the message is very much around. They walk with us, and they're bringing this knowledge and this wisdom through to many of us at the moment, and we've got to start to see it. And this is why it's so important about expressing truth, living truth, living wisdom, accessing our soul qualities. All these sort of things are really important, because when we start to see beyond the physical, and again, this is very much the teaching of the universal law of correspondence, that there's an inner light, there's an inner sort of sacred space of source light and creation that's within each and every one of our source energy. And when we start to live in it and exist in that sort of space, then we start to see the world very differently. The world vibrates, and there's a frequency that's very different, and it's not the external world, but you also then start again as I've talked about this before, about stepping into your own power, into your own light, and into your own energy. And again, this is about expressing truth. And again, this is what the masters did. They expressed the truth. Um, and you know, and again, ascended master, sort of like Jesus, very much at the time was walking around expressing truth in a time that, you know, where there's a lot of things going on, and he was expressing his light and his energy in that way. It's not even him, but it was like expressing the Master Jesus was expressing light and energy in that way. He was connected to the infinite source of realities and the infinite realities of light and energy. And this time's very much around that, as we all start to move into this new kind of phase of spiritual evolution, that we need to start to step into that. We need to shine our light, we need to express it, but we also need to start to see beyond the physical and stop. In one way, it's difficult because the external world is very much built up. You know, there's so much attachment, there's so much distraction out there, but it's about living not from that place, not seeing the external world as the reality of the true reality, but expressing from your inner reality, your inner planes. And this is what this time's about, and this is what they did before. You know, in different times, when I talked about Lemuria, I talked about Atlantis, they were on a very different sort of conscious frequency, and this is what this time's about now. And we're being sort of evolved, and we're being sort of like shifted to that, and this is what this time's about, and this is why it's so important that we start to create from that place. Yeah, you are going to be distracted. You are going to have like things that are going to go on with your human side, where you're going to sort of get attached to things, you know, of the materialistic plane, because that's part of the human life. We're walking in a human skin at the moment, a human body, but we're also these spiritual beings, and it's about sort of like starting to harmonize with that source light and energy, so we can start to express and create from a different place. And this is what this time's about, and this is why this knowledge is coming back, and this is why this wisdom's coming back, and we're being asked to shift and change our frequency in that way, that we start to shift it, like create from a place of unity, harmony, balance, peace. But we also, it's awakening to our own light and energy, and starting to know that we can use that as a creative source, because it's part of the source light, source light in creation, but it's a creative source. Each and every one of us, we all have that vibration, that frequency in us, and we're being asked to create in a more conscious way, in a more spiritually conscious way, to create a more spiritual reality, one in our own life, but secondly on the planet. And this is what the, you know, spiritual dimensions and realities are all about: harmony and consciousness. They're about oneness, they're about being in unity. There's no separation. Again, this is the illusion that there's a separation. There isn't. Being in a human form doesn't make you separate from source light and creation. You are still connected to it, as all realities and all dimensions are. So again, it's about being more conscious of how we express ourselves in a more spiritual way, but using light and energy, anchoring it in. We're all channels of this light and energy. We're all channels, and we all express it. We're all illuminated in that way with that light and that energy. And it's about us sort of expressing it and creating it within our own energy fields and our own energy vibrations, to start to then allow it to start to anchor and manifest within this physical world, which is what we're here for. And this is why we've come back, which is all of us have incarnated for that reason. We've incarnated because we know at this time and this stage of the spiritual evolution of Earth that it needs that shift, it needs that change. And you know, a lot of the things that have gone before have been sort of laying the foundations for this new shift. And this is why we're here. We're all anchors for light. We're all anchors for energy. We're all anchoring it in. We're all beings of light that are bringing these new vibrations in, and each and every one of us are bringing and integrating and aligning it within our. We're here to align it in our own lives, and then align it on the planet. And this is why we're here. This is why we all agreed to come back. So it's like this is part of the process. This is part of the spiritual evolution, and this is part of why we're here. And this is why it's so important to shift, go through those different dimensional shifts. You talk about the third dimension, which then it shifts really more or less to the fifth dimension, because the fourth dimension is sort of connected in there, but it's like the third dimension is the material plane, then the fifth dimension is very much around sort of like heaven on earth, which is the awakening to the ascension process, is the awakening to your own spiritual light and energy. And then the next shift is the sixth dimension, where we start to work with the masters and the infinite realms of light and energy, but we start to really consciously create and again be part of that spiritual realities of the different sort of vibrations and frequencies. The six dimensional reality is very much around light and energy. There's they're light beings, and it's very much around like as we start to shift in a different state of consciousness, we start to connect with them again. So it's like your angels, it's your masters, that they're very much exist in that, and other sort of like spiritual entities, but that are these universal teachers that are very much sort of connected in those realities. And as we start to open up to, we start to become conduits, well, channels again, um, of light and energy, and we're very much sort of like being asked to open up and allow our energy free, our light, sort of like our energy frequencies, to start to open up to that and start to align with it, so we can start to become channels of it again, and we can start to bring these frequencies back to the planet, which is very much needed. One, it will open up the energy frequencies on the planet, the energy lines, the ley lines, but the sort of the energy grids on the planet, which is very much needed. And it will also then start to allow us to harmonize and bring this new vibration down, which is needed at this time, because there's so many different frequencies that are not harmonized on the planet, and it's also creating a lot of sort of imbalances, and this is why we're here. We're all sort of like healing's what a good example of that, where you do hands-on healing with somebody. You connect to the source light and energy, and then what you do is you put your hands on another being, and then that being then is aligned with that energy, that source energy. So it's a way of awakening, but it also opens up their energy field to start to receive what's needed, help heal and remove blockages. But it's also like a good example of how we work as channels as well. When we start to connect to source energy, we open up to that source light and energy, and then we start to anchor it. And anchoring is so important, and integration, because it actually shifts and changes our consciousness, and it shifts and changes our reality, but also how we see the world. We move from a physical sort of like viewpoint to a spiritual viewpoint, which is very much a collective viewpoint, that we are here for all, and we're all part of the same vibration, so we're here to shift and change things. And this is what this time's about. So this is why it's so important to express your truth, to see beyond the surface stuff, because actually each and every one of us have a key, but also have a vibration and knowledge and wisdom that's needed for this time. And I keep talking about this, but it is, and this is what the masters and the angels are telling us. We're, like I said yesterday, we're all messengers. We're all bringing wisdom. We're all bringing insight to this planet for this age, which is needed to shift and change the planet, to bring it to a new frequency. And then it will help it again harmonize. It'll help it grow, heal, and it will start to bring us back into alignment. That's the insight for today.